Welcome back to the Nullified Take channel on YouTube, where Kahuna and I have got the TNT takes for you on the Challenge 39, episode 17. That is right. I'm your host, Chris. We're back, and I'm back with the biggest smile because Nikki already hating on what we're doing here today. We've got a poll up and running today for everybody that's going to join the live, asking which of the following contestants that are eliminated in this week would you most like to see come back? Would it be James, Michele, or Olivia? And I, on purpose, did not put in none of the above. I want people to make a decision because we know one of these three will definitely come back. And Kahuna, like, where do you lean on this? Like, which of those three would you like to see come back and play the game again?
Is it only one?
Only one of those three. You can't have all three. I know you're normally the positive, the glass half full guy on the podcast. You'd have all of them back, but I'm forcing you to choose.
Definitely not James. I don't think we'll see James again. He didn't bring a lot the entire season beyond Mariah, which, granted is a lot. Like that, that's adding a lot to the resume. But I think Michele's guaranteed. Michele has solidified a spot as a mainstay in the show. She ran the season socially. She only went out on a purge. She would have been in the final for sure. I would love to see her back, but I still, even after the biggest fall from grace in one season, the heel turn that is Olivia, the mess that she has become this season, and being the foil to what has become the biggest hero turn we've seen in a long time in the race, and playing off against that, I want to see Olivia again, even if it's just to see the villain arc. I don't know if we're going to get a redemption arc, but she's got a lot of storylines available to her after putting herself in such a really bad spot on the show,
So without looking at the poll, who do you think's leading at the moment out of those three? If you had to take a guess.
Has to be Michele.
Not close at the moment. 90% of people are voting for Michele. Olivia second.
People hate Olivia. They can't look at it the way I'm going. I want to see the hated person back there. Yeah. James is an absolute nothing, so I'm assuming Michele in a landslide.
Yeah, Chris voted for Olivia. It looks like I'm the only one who did. Do you all hate drama?
Stevie. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, now Chris gets it.
We're together today, Chris.
It's a good start. It's a good start, but we're only 2 minutes into the podcast. There's plenty of time to trigger Chris or Nikki or any of the others here in the live today. Chris is saying hello to everybody. Darren is with us as well. We've got Daniel all the way from Houston, Texas. Love Houston, Texas. Daniel, have you ever gotten your hair cut over by Leroy's? Isn't he in Houston? I'm pretty sure he's got his barbershop's in Houston, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then we've also got Darren from Beaumont, Texas as well. Love Texas. I've spent some time in Texas before. I've been there twice before. Always enjoyed my time there. Lovable Nikki says, this poll sucks. I refuse to answer it. Come on, Nikki. Play ball. I'm sure you can choose one. Go for James. He needs the support at the moment. He doesn't have any votes. Dolores is saying, I wish there was a fourth option. Neither. We're all about positivity here today, Dolores. We're going to keep it positive on the podcast. Chris is saying, these boys are always trifling. Dolores also saying, Chris, how happy are you right now? Very, very happy at the moment because, I'm going to say this, Kahuna. I feel like Nerys is challenging to become my favorite challenger of all time. Like, his storyline is just too appetizing for me to watch. And again, I look back at the draft. She got picked so early on the draft between Angel Cake, Chantal and myself, and I just didn't see it. But the bakery
Mm.
and Drew saw something in her I didn't see from the start, and they chose her so early on. So I'm gonna have to, I don't know, I'm gonna have to be a little bit more on my game going into any future drafts because I don't always see them, and it's my blind spot. I didn't know the show she was coming from. She didn't show enough for me in her first season, but man, there's this one thing that you can't measure just based on looking at someone physically, like she maybe doesn't like she doesn't look like an athlete to me. Like she's slim, obviously a good runner, but one thing you can't measure is heart, and that is something she's got so much of. Like I just don't think that there's anyone in this challenge that's got more heart than her. And I actually, at this point, I feel like anybody but her winning this season would be a failure. Like the season wouldn't be the same. I want Nerys to win so badly right now.
I know, and to do it in a season where she's been in the power lines, but also at the bottom of the entire thing, while managing that dichotomy, while getting together with the most handsome man on earth, apparently, who's also like the nicest, most Prince Charming like meme of a man in Horacio. She's building this storyline that really feels like it's she's knocking off the best competitors. She's had to take out her own boyfriend. She's taken out the best friend that betrayed her. Like she's standing up against the rest of the house, and it's such a well-written Hollywood narrative. When the writer strike happened and they couldn't get writers, they just turned to reality TV and wrote a script that was like just picture perfect. You know what I mean? The beautiful woman overcoming all the odds, seeing her partner vanquished by betrayal from her best friend, and takes them all out. Oh my gosh, that story would be amazing.
It's poetic. It's definitely poetic. And sorry, I stand corrected. The bakery has corrected me here, saying Drew does not have her. That is right. Drew didn't choose her first. I think Drew actually had Melissa. I can't remember. It's so long since we did the draft. It's actually Chantal who had that pick right from the start. So well done to Chantal for picking her so early as the number one pick. I mean, I chose, I think Mariah or Berna. I can't remember, but I know those two were like very high up on my list. They're still there.
They're there, man. They're still
They're
there.
still there. They're hanging in it. They're just not doing it the way I thought they would do it. And we'll obviously talk about Berna a little bit here as well. Dolores is saying, so question to you both. Do you think that the chaos should have been done at this time? This way, to be a champ, you have to beat a champ would apply to them getting to the finals. So changing it up a little bit, but maybe bringing the chaos in later. I feel like it makes sense, Dolores. The problem I think production had was that they weren't fully confident that these new contestants would carry the season long enough to keep people interested. So bringing it in kind of in the middle of the season kind of got the old school fans coming back to watch, which champion is coming back next week? Like, who are we going to see? So it kind of kept people invested, where maybe a lot of people would have quit on the show before it even got to this stage. So I think from that standpoint, I get why they're doing it, but I also like what you're saying in regards to bringing it in a little bit later on. It would have been better.
I think you also needed the opportunity, because we saw only 5 out of the 10 champions won, right? And people came back into the house. So then they needed a chance after the champions to do the purges and stuff like this, where they can knock out. Like if CT was the last, or the champions were the last part, and 5 of those people came back into the house, we're going into a finals with 12 people,
See, I can't even remember my own picks. I chose Burner number 1. Yeah, that's a rough take. I don't know. There was something about Burner. I thought she had fight on her. I think the first time she went out there. But
I did too. I liked Burner a lot the first time around.
Yeah, and again, listen, she's still there. She won the daily here, but just the drama. And again, drama brings TV, but I don't know if her drama is necessarily good drama, to be honest. Danica saying, one of these days I need to know the backstory of the relationship of Lovable Nikki and Chris. So much controversy. Are you all related? No, they just both they've been both in the community for a very long time. And if we ever had to get a fans versus favorites challenge season, Chris and Lovable Nikki would be ride or dies, or I don't know, rivals maybe, but I feel like they're like frenemies when it comes to the online community. Chris says the chaos portion ended up being sort of a flop, not a single person left. has beat a champ this season. A big part of the theme has been null and void. Yeah, I don't really want to go into the chaos too much anymore. Like, I feel like we've moved past that part of the season, and I feel like there were good and bad things about it, but it kind of fell flat as a whole. Willie Lloyd, I'm actually neutral on him, but I can't get over the statement of playing scared games. Mods versus podcasters. Yeah, that could be fun. I bet
We're in
you
trouble.
that
We're in trouble.
Yeah. Listen, I bet you Chris or Lovable Nikki would love to take us on in a puzzle. Like Nerys did here with the boys, and they'd probably beat us with it. But I feel like the one we really need to see is Kahuna versus Corey and the Hall Brawl, since he's been calling Corey out so much.
That's what people want to see, apparently.
That's what the people really want to see. No way. Nikki and I are always on the same page. Yeah, for most of the part, I'd say you guys are. You team up against us. You bully us podcasters all the time. So yeah, what did you think of Nerys coming back into the game? She comes back into the game. She kind of doesn't share any of the information of what's happening in the elimination. She's like, sucks to be you. You're going to have to find out when you go down there. And her just sort of, kind of having that attitude of, I really don't care what people in the game think at this point. Everybody's betrayed me. I'm playing for myself right now. Did you like how she entered the house, and her stance with not sharing that information?
Yeah, of course. Why would you give anyone information that may, unless you want to maybe pepper some false information, do it, put some wrong details out there, kind of like the Kylan thing, making it look like it was more terrifying and horrible than it really was. But yeah, don't give them any info. And she's coming into a house with her back completely against the wall with no, and she beat Horacio and Kylan. She deserves to brag and come in and throw it in their faces and do all of it, every little bit of it. And by the way, for Emmanuel to say something other than about his mum, that he's doing it for his mum, he comes down and goes, "It's a bit much, Nerys." Like, shut up. Where'd you come from? Go back to disappearing into the wall again.
He's so insignificant in this season.
Yeah, and he's going, "Oh, it's too much, Nerys. We weren't trying to get you. Calm down. Shut up, man.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Weird. Yeah.
You've been sitting safe the whole season, not giving us nothing, basically. As I haven't had any entertainment from Emmanuel this season. So for me, I agree with you. For him to be saying that's quite rich, but again, it brings your theory up. Is why are we even giving this guy the mic? He's boring to talk when it comes to the confessional side of it. Why is he talking? Unless there's going to be something significant coming from him in the future,
especially when
which
you
scares me as well.
Left, right? Look at the dudes left, and I'm like, yeah, it could be a thing.
But it's interesting.
Well,
but it's interesting because obviously, having the setup currently in the conquest part of the game, it means whoever goes out first in the daily is automatically eliminated, and it kind of ruins the girls from just maybe taking a bit of control of this game. I don't know if it would have ever actually have happened because Berna and Colleen have been not really with the girls, and even that relationship about Berna's been treated so badly by these girls the whole season, blah, blah, blah. I don't get it. I just don't really get what's going on there. I feel like it's, again, Berna just wanting to be a victim in that moment. But do you think that plan would have actually worked with Michele and Olivia and Nerys coming together saying, hey, let's get the boys out. Let's get an all-girls final. It's never been done before, so kind of like the Black Widow sort of situation that we had in Survivor way back. Let's make this happen because it makes sense. There's one individual winner. Why would you want to go up against the boys in a final? And 100%. Listen, Nerys is proving that she can beat the boys out there, but a final isn't just one obstacle or 3 obstacle courses over a short period of time. It is a marathon when you do those finals. So do you think it would have actually happened, and did the format of the game screw up the plan for the girls here? Because even Michele seemed open to letting Jay go.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that Michele was the one that was purged, and you're right, the purge will always generally affect the women more than the men, which sucks. And we saw it with Ravyn, and then with Michele. Ed got purged in between, which is equals it out a bit. But I think if Michele was there to keep a little bit more control on it, then that potential women alliance may have actually been able to get across the line. Colleen and Berna, with Michele gone, Jay was able to control that down through Emmanuel, whatever, I feel like Michele could have made the moves and used that social capital that she's so good with to actually pull that together, because it would have definitely been the smartest thing to do for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see what people are saying here. Sudani says, I loved how she walked in with a quiet confidence and immediately started gaming. She really has come into her own as a competitor, despite the trials she has faced at this point. Thana says, Iman has nothing but the audacity. And Dolores says, oh my goodness, Kahuna, I wanted to slap Emmanuel so hard. Going, dude, what have you done lately? Nothing. I agree, nothing. Willie's saying Emmanuel needs to shut up. Like, seriously, Nerys wasn't even doing much. Like, dude, I wish you were purged. It's funny because I remember when I went so hard on Emmanuel earlier in the season for turning his back on Jordan, and people are like, Chris, you know, you're a bit too hard on Emmanuel, but people are turning on Emmanuel at the moment and realizing, like, I mean, that was probably his biggest moment of the season.
If he had kept that energy the whole way through, right? But like, that was a cool move. Whether you like it or not, it was a statement to turn your back on Jordan.
It's
of
memorable.
All people. It's memorable. And then nothing the rest of the season except my mum this, my mum that. I want to retire my mum. She looks like she's about 3 years older than me. Like, I don't know what he's talking about retiring her. This like young blonde mum. Like, well, she's got, what do you mean retire her? She's not like some old, like, I picture when she's like, I want to retire my mum, like some 80-year-old like sewing away in a sweatshop in Romania.
Yeah, I do think, like, listen, look at me coming to the defense of Emmanuel in this situation. But I do think that, you know, we don't fully appreciate being in countries such as Australia and America, which both countries are reasonably well off. We've got a reasonably good standard of living. We don't always appreciate
I'm
that.
very privileged.
He comes from Romania, which I feel like, and again, I've never been to Romania before, but I just have a feeling like life might be a little bit harder there for the average person. So it's probably like a cultural thing that we just don't get with that as well, that we do need to acknowledge at least. And now we can continue to bash Emmanuel for how he's playing the game, but I just wanted to say that at least. Danica says, I was looking at the photo of them walking, and the only one I want to see win now is Nerys. I totally agree. Darren says, unfortunately, I think Emmanuel will win. Wow, big call. They have to give him something. I think that's what kind of what Kahuna's been saying, you know, previously as well. So yeah, I mean, they always did this with Nelson as well, like Nelly T with the mom, and I want to, you know, and then always had got me, and I'm like, oh, is this Nelly T's season? Is he finally going to pull it off? But Nelly T is entertaining, so you can at least get why they're giving him confessionals. Now you've got a guy like Emmanuel who's not entertaining, and they're getting him to speak.
They're forcing
Same with Colleen, though. Colleen's been very consistent throughout the season as well. And she's not that entertaining to me either. Like, I just don't find her entertaining, but she always gets the opportunity to say something in each episode. The other girls treat Bernard the way Bernard treats everyone else. Yeah, and that's the thing that's confusing to me, Thana. You bring up a great comment. It's like, you know, you get what you put out in the world. Like, if you're going to be like this combative person the whole time and you're going to cause drama, it's even like when Bernard was one of the last ones up on that wheel on the daily, where I can't remember who it was that said this. It may have been Olivia, actually, who said, I really just want James to win it, because if Bernard wins it, she's going to get us all together. She's going to have this big speech about morality. She's going to talk about how difficult it is to make the decisions, sit us down, and then do what she needs to do. So it's and also talk about her hardships in life up until that point, which no one wants to listen to. So I feel like Bernard thinks that she's being treated strangely, but she also needs to look at how she is treating the other people. Like, it's a little bit of it's a give and take, isn't it, Kahuna?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I don't know how much of it is lost in the English as a third language, you know, being
I don't even know.
Very much a
she's
foreigner.
German. What do they speak in Turkey? Do that. What is the language in Turkey? Is it Turkish? Right.
Yeah. So Turkish, German, and then English is a third. I don't know if that plays it, but okay, I realize I'm being very like stereotypical here, but generally the German culture not known for their overly gregarious personality, you know what I mean? Like, it is a stereotype, I get that, but like,
I've been in Germany, by the way. Germany people, like, when you go to Germans, I should say, when you go there, they're very friendly, but they can come across as very standoffish, right? But when you speak to them, they will help you. Unlike in France, if you're lost in France and you're like, I need directions, people, if you speak English to them, they will flat out ignore you. Like they're rude until you like what I found the trick to be when you're in France is you start speaking your like because I'm obviously from South Africa, I speak Afrikaans. So if I start speaking Afrikaans to them, they get confused and they're like, English, and then they'll help you because they realize you're not English speaking. But Germany is not like that. If you're in Germany and you're lost or you need help, like that, they don't want to inconvenience you by talking to you first. But if you need it, they will be very friendly and help you in Germany. So they definitely have that exterior of being like very regimented, focused, driven. They don't look like they want you to talk to them, but when you talk to them, they're actually really good people. Like from my experience of having been to Germany,
I mean, it's people, right? People are all different. Yeah, but
the French are not like that. The French are like, why are you bothering me?
I don't know if it plays into Berna's personality, but it is grating. It can be very, very difficult to be around, and she just doesn't seem to have the self-awareness to pick up on it. Like it's that, why is everyone mean to me? It can't possibly be me, is it? No, it's everyone else. Like
Darren brings up a good point, though, and this is something I was going to say. In Berna's defense, I think she probably treats people like her mother treated her. Understood a bit after talk to Emmanuel, which I do think that will mess you up in those early years when you're sort of, growing up. It has an influence on who you become, right? And her mother was never really good at showing emotion either or being engaging, so that will mess you up for sure. Let's see what other people are saying. Oh, we've got King Cooper in the live. First time catching a live that isn't at 2 a.m. I remember King Cooper jumping on in a few late night. I believe it was Traitors lives that we saw him in before. So it's good to see you back, King Cooper. Then we also have Willie saying, Berna talking about how the girls treat her, yet she has been very rude to everyone else. Yep, we've seen that. Chris saying, yes, Chris, our culturally sensitive king. Listen, I can surprise everyone every now and again, every now and again. I just want to put it out there. But these people put themselves on a show. They're going to be judged to a certain degree. So they also have to understand there's going to be some flack that comes with that if you're going to be on a show such as The Challenge. But doesn't mean we can't just like quickly acknowledge that there are some big cultural differences because they've opened up the floodgates with The Challenge. They're not all from the US. They're not all from Australia or some of these Western countries where the culture is almost, there's a lot of similarities. I feel like funny update on being in Gold Coast last week. You know how I said in the Gold Coast, it reminded me so much of Florida over there. And I was like, I've kind of had that familiarity. Only afterwards, I noticed that they actually had like a couple of buildings called the Florida this, the Miami that. And I'm like, oh, wow. So they really do play
Miami Beach.
The Miami Beach. There's a Miami Beach in Gold Coast. So I was like, okay, so clearly they've had some inspiration from Florida and Gold Coast as well. So it wasn't just me making it up in my head. Like they clearly did this on purpose, which is interesting. So just an update on the Gold Coast for those that ever want to come to Australia. If you want to have a home from away from home and you want to see a bit of Florida. Danica saying Colleen always looks like she's reading off a script. I know some of these sayings are not familiar to her. Yeah. And I think she also, I don't know, it just doesn't come across naturally. Like maybe if she was talking in German, we would see a lot more of her personality, but she seems very monotone sometimes when she speaks. Dubber says the victim mentality that the woman got screwed is annoying. Berna won. Tori and Kara, who have muscles, ain't getting purged. Michele, pick up a dumbbell. Dabu, call it like you're seeing it. What did you think of this daily? Like the big daily. Apparently, a few of them got hurt. I heard something about Michele. And I didn't
broke
really.
Ribs.
She broke ribs. Someone else like
did broke ribs and busted an implant. Apparently.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Colleen got concussed.
Right.
From the fall into the water. So yeah, it was.
And when did they realize that Colleen got concussed? Like afterwards, like was this like days after? Because like in sport,
I've just seen this on social media. Maybe not from the most reputable of sources. It's usually just a meme that someone posted in a group that I'm scrolling past in 2 seconds flat. But yeah, I did see that those were the specific injuries. So I don't know when it was picked up, but yeah, Colleen's still got a final to run.
Yeah. It was very interesting to me, to see the challenge. Obviously, it's nothing new. We've seen things like this before where they've had to jump from car to car. Was it Leroy who had the really bad wipeout one season as well when he jumped and he just like spun all the way down? So this is definitely, and I mean, you had James literally, opening up his face in the Challenge UK. So these kind of things do happen.
We've seen it before. Siobhan busted implants that one season.
That's right.
Katie busted her nose, I think.
That's why Katie still has a fear every time she goes back for All Stars.
So there's a lot of it in the challenge. They don't care. They'll do it. They'll go higher.
Yeah, and that's what I
rolling
respect.
things.
Yeah, that's what I respect about the challenge. Survivor's like, how can we make this safer? Protect our cast. But the challenge is like, no, we're going to continue to do this audacious challenges. Maybe it's not the best for the players themselves partaking in it, but for our entertainment, as long as nobody, actually, gets to a point where they're, hurt for life or worse. I still find this very entertaining. This was to me one of the more entertaining. It was so simple, having this big wheel with a rope, and you had to run, and it had those nods on the rope. So I was kind of thinking to myself, Kahuna, do you reckon you would have been allowed? Because if I was playing this, I would have thought, grab the rope higher than the knots, pull yourself up, and then I don't know if you've ever seen how people actually do rope climbs, but you tie the rope around your
foot, yeah,
and then you use your legs to actually keep you up, not your arm strength. I would have done that. I would have just been climbing the rope, getting my feet into a knot, basically like you would do in a rope climb, and I would just sit there while everybody else is running beneath me. I feel like that would have been the winning strategy. Maybe they were told they're not allowed to do it, but I don't know what the rules were, so it wasn't clearly explained. That to me would have been the meta strategy on this.
Yeah, Mud Runner, Mr. Spartan over here. He has all the rope climbing techniques.
I'm practicing those rope climbing techniques right now because I'm doing a Spartan in April. I'm back on the course.
It makes absolute sense because they were obviously there was no rule against not running. You could hang there, but they were brute strengthening it with all upper arm, like holding their entire body weight, which was Michelle's downfall. As David said, lift some dumbbells. But I don't know, because it would have broken the game if they all knew that technique of rope work or like what do they call them? Silks. Like some of Burner. That's probably why Burner does so good with that, right? Like that's her wheelhouse is the rope work and silks and circus stuff and all that sort of thing. But yeah, if they plan it, you're right. Like every time we watch it, we go, you just do it this way and the game's broken. Like they probably would have made some rule against it, I'm assuming. Because they're all just hanging there for 3 hours.
I would have definitely been thinking about how do we, and it's just that mentality thing. We spoke about it in Survivor this week, where for those who don't watch Australian Survivor, they had an idol hidden in a box, and you needed to find a key to open it with a lock to get to the idol. And one of the contestants just decided to smash through the box and take the idol in any case, because there was no rules telling. I don't think there was a rule to tell them that they're not allowed to break their way into the box. So it's like, how can you break the game and the rules that are there? That's how I would have been thinking about this daily challenge. I do want to catch up, and we'll talk a little bit more about this daily challenge, but let's catch up on a couple of comments. I don't want to fall too far behind. Chris saying, my dad lived in Germany for years when he was in the military. He said that Germans were serious on the job, but fun off hours. Yeah, I've got a friend who's lived in Germany for a very long time.
That's not Burner.
No, not Burner. That's probably not Burner. I feel like Colleen would be fun. Like, again, like I just think she comes across as very monotone on the show, but I'm sure she'd have fun outside of that. Chris saying, Florida's tacky culture is worldwide. Happy to hear it. Dolores saying, yeah, baby, that's our influence. When I am good friends is actually from Tasmania. I've been waiting to go and visit the family and him and his wife.
Tasmania is not like Florida.
Yeah. Tasmania is its own thing down there. I haven't actually been yet. I want to go. I want to go on a cruise down there or something. Willie says concussions are very dangerous, and yeah, that's why I was thinking, like, if there was a concussion for Colleen, like in sports, you actually have to sit out from doing any kind of physical activity for like a while, or contact sport for a while, if you've got a concussion. And rugby, which is kind of like American football, but our version of it, and we don't play with helmets and stuff, so concussions happen very often. You have to sit out for like 2 or 3 weeks. You can't do anything. Mm-hmm. So it's like, that's why I'm thinking, what's the safety protocol around that? So yeah, very, very interesting hearing that. So Darren says no hold brawl because people get hurt, but let's go 30 feet above the water. And Brian says the same thing, basically. No hold brawls or pole wrestles are too dangerous, but spinning wheel 50 feet over the water where they can't control how they fall is safe. Yeah,
that's
I agree.
An interesting contrast, isn't it?
Yeah. Siobhan didn't actually bust one. She just said she did. Michele also broke ribs in that fall. So fair enough. Yeah, that's possible. Chris said, I do hate that people got hurt, but I agree. I like the simplicity of this daily. Danica says, for those that don't watch Survivor Australia, you should. I agree. It's a really good season again. I hate to admit it because I've been fighting this for a long time. Whenever people are like, Australian Survivor is so much better than Survivor US, but you kind of have to start. I'm like, you're gonna have to lean that way and be like, yeah, man, they're actually consistently outperforming Survivor US at the moment, which is sad because you want the original show to be doing well as well. Dolores says, I do not know Olivia's situation, but breast implants do not last for a lifetime. Maybe it's almost time to refresh them. Anyway, yeah. And she didn't really, they didn't really show that at all. Like they didn't make a big deal of any of those injuries or anything like that afterwards. Like I wasn't aware that she was like that happened. Like you'd imagine she'd be in pain if something like that did happen, right? Because you can get infected, surely, if that happens.
With busted ribs as well. Yeah, like that's not
busted ribs as well, but even like an implant, like
yeah,
where does the silicone go? Like in your body?
I don't know. I think it's saline now. Like it's the technology has changed. I'm not too familiar with it, but I don't think it's as dangerous as it was in the 80s kind of thing when it really took off.
Yeah. Lovable Nikki said we did have a pole wrestle. Yep, that's true. We did have
pole storm.
Dora saying watching TJ laughing at them as they fell, knowing that they got seriously injured is so cringe. Listen, TJ is a different breed. Okay, like this guy, like was a BMXer.
Yeah,
did all this gnarly stuff.
He broke a million bones.
He's probably seen like his own bone stick out from his flesh when he's broken a bone or something. Like the guy is just from a different breed. Okay, so he will find things like this funny. Lovable Nick saying, Chris, it's not silicone now. I didn't know that. I'm not up to date with what the newest techniques are that they're using. So, but it's good to know because I'm sure if it was silicone, it wouldn't have been too safe if something like that popped and it's inside of your body, you know. But yeah, love the daily. Who would have thought that the two people who would do the best in this was going to be Berna? I mean, Berna, you could kind of imagine because she kind of grew up with, you know, being up in the air, doing all the circus stuff before. So she's got that sort of skill set within her, but she really did well out there. And then James from nowhere suddenly was just really good at it. And he doesn't look like the kind of guy that would be good at it. He looks like big, uncomfortable, like he wouldn't necessarily have good balance, but he stayed in it for a long time. And maybe that was just fear driving him at that point.
He also had a completely rope burned hand from the channels previously while holding onto a rope again. Like he's thinking, oh no, what are these gloves like? You know, like after last week's glove debacle, and that's maybe why he stayed on there so long. You're right, it's just straight fear. Smacking his face again, ripping his hands again. He stayed up there for as long as he could.
Brian saying, not sure why they didn't go do 2 heats of 5. The quickest one off gets eliminated. The person that stays on the longest wins. You have to wait until both heats are done and find out the winner. I actually personally like the way they did it because it takes the whole argument out of the equation of, well, did they really do it correctly? Did production want to get Michele to stay longer than Olivia, who fell first on the other one, and that's why she's still there? This makes it beyond any doubt because head to head, you saw that Olivia went down, I think, first in the first heat, and then Michele went down in the do or die heat. Basically, she went down first in that one. And let's talk about Michele here for a second. Like, what a way to go! Like, she love or hate her. I'm more towards like, listen. There's times she infuriates me, and I'm like, I really just don't get what you're doing here. Like, I can't condone the game move in this situation, but for the majority of this season, she did play a really good game, and she was control of this game. So to see her go out in this manner, it is kind of sad. Like I wasn't feeling sad for Jay when he was devastated because it's like, yeah, Jay, you know, you can't have your way throughout the whole game. But for Michele, like I would definitely lean on the side of Michele brings some action to the TV. She's a good TV character. Like I definitely agree with people who have voted for her. We've got 84% of people saying they want to see her come back and play again. How did you feel seeing her leave the game in this manner?
First of all, I want to say that her going out in this specific manner kind of backs up that Chris knows what he's talking about because he's always said she's good at this game, but her downfall is always going to be physical. And she was so insulated and protected and socially fine in this game. She's going to the final, and the only way she didn't get there is because of her own physical ability, which you've called out like for a long time, right? Saying that like
And balance. I've always talked about how bad
and
she was
balance
at balance when it comes to Survivor, like
specifically.
anything with balance. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess it makes sense. Like, if it wasn't here, it was going to be in the final. She could have got to a final, at least check that off her resume, and say that I've
Could she
gotten
become
to a
Nani?
final.
Like, could
I
she
don't
be
think
the?
she's even as
Could
good
she?
as Nani.
Yeah, yeah. Well, listen. What I mean by that is Nani has always been good at the social game, and she's got into
Yeah.
finals before because of that
Oh
social
yeah.
game. And
She'll
people
get to
want to
finals.
take Nani to a final because they know Nani's not going to win a final.
Well, it depends what she can come back, how she comes out of this season, because she did dominate and run this season without the vets there. If she gets back into that like the hierarchy and they shove her back down the thing and say, no, Michele, she doesn't have the friends, she doesn't have the numbers, she's back at like Laurel picking on her, like being the sort of the second class citizen to the vets, even though she's like that in betweener, right? And the reason why she was able to do so well this season is because she's one of the veterans of these new casts. But when it comes to the veterans, do they shove her back down the pecking order or not give her the respect of a game that she played this season, which she has played very well? And I think if she can have a couple of people with her, then she can replicate it. She's got that social ability. We've seen her win literally $1 million because of it, right? And the challenge is not immune to that. She can apply those same skill set to the challenge. It's the physical that lets her down and the circumstances of what does the makeup of the house and the game look like on any given season. That's what
And
is the big
Michelle's never
game
going to
changer.
change. That's the thing. That's where I don't know if you watched the CT and Cara Maria documentaries I
Not
did
yet.
in the
No,
last week.
not yet.
Both highly recommend. Both really
Okay,
good.
great. I'm excited.
Yeah, both really good. I think it's downhill from here because they started with the two best, and now I don't know if I care as much about anybody else that's going to follow, but I'll probably still give it a crack. Cara Maria actually spoke about the fact that in her first couple of seasons, she didn't take it as seriously, and then she had that fire up her ass one season where she was like, I'm going to start going to CrossFit. I'm going to start training and getting better so that I can be competitive on the challenge. You could see that physical change in her. I just don't think Michele has got that same drive that Cara Maria had to improve herself physically. And I just don't see her changing that about her style or her game moving forward. So I do think that someone else called it out here earlier in the live. I can't remember who said it, but her best hope is going to be to win in a team scenario. I can see her winning in a scenario where she's teamed up in a duo with someone that is very strong, like a CT, a Jordan, or whoever's still around at that time. I can see a way for her to win, but it's going to be interesting because I just don't see her changing that. And I was really shocked to see that finally I've made a comparison that Chris agrees with, saying I can see the comparison between Michele and Nani, even saying it's a good read. Thanks, Chris. Like, I feel like it's very hard to get these.
Chris
Normally,
doesn't
I
know
get
what
my
to do with himself. He's
I
like,
normally get my head taken out as soon as I do a comparison. But Brian saying more like Anissa, at least right before a final. I can see the Anissa one as well. But the difference between Michele and Anissa is I don't see Michele complaining about the fact that she's not given the opportunity to get into a final. Anissa, that's the thing that annoyed me the most about Anissa. She was always complaining. She's like, these guys don't want me to get to a final. They just can't give me the final. No, Anissa, you need to earn the final. So
Michele can't do what Anissa does in eliminations, though, either.
Not physically.
Not physically.
No. Wally says, I agree with Chris. Seeing Michele go home really sucks because at least she does something, and I feel like she should be in a final. I do agree. I've enjoyed parts of her game this season, especially when she started standing up to Jay as well. Michele is no Nani. At least Michele is better at puzzles than Nani. That is true. I think that's where people keep forgetting that if there's a lot of puzzles in a final, that could be the equalizer. I just don't know how Michele would do over 2 days of running. That's the question for me. Like, can she keep up? Can she keep up? That's going to be the real thing, because you've had competitors who are not good at puzzles, like both Casey and Amber win by just being good runners and not necessarily or decent runners. I would say Amber is a better runner than Casey, but still, I feel like if you're not good at it, then there's some problems. Chris sounds so genuinely happy. I am happy, Chris. I am happy. I finally got one that you agree with. That made my whole weekend.
You got that dopamine hit.
Dopamine hit for sure. Dopamine and caffeine first thing in the morning. Like ice long black coffees. So moving on from this daily, obviously we're going to get Bernard win, and there's a whole talk between this alliance now, Kahuna, at home about how are we going to do this, who's going to get selected where. There's a big worry about Jay saving the wrong person, which is going to be Nerys in this moment. What did you think about the whole, we've spoken a lot about Jay gaslighting Olivia earlier in the season. It's a little bit of this happening with Jay between Bernard, Colleen, and all of them trying to get Jay to turn his back on Nerys. Do you think that Jay wanted to turn his back on Nerys and he was just looking for an excuse, which they handed to him on a silver platter, and now he's
quickly.
like, oh, I can now turn on Nerys without looking like the bad guy back home. So Nelly T won't be too angry at me. Maybe fans will understand why I made this move. So he kind of was just eager to grab onto anything that would allow for him to not sort of stay loyal to his friend in the game, because being friends with someone for 5 years outside of the game and you're not going to have their back and you're going to believe these people you've just met or hardly know, that to me screams insanity. Like, I just don't get it. Like, maybe I'm a different breed. That's why I don't want to play. I've always said, even in Survivor, I don't want to play Blood versus Water. I don't want to play a season with a Dio going into the game that I know from outside, because I could be fun in a game like this if I didn't know people. If I know people, I'm a very loyal person. And I don't know if I could be betraying real life friends in a game for money.
Yeah. He
that's
was
just me.
quick to grab onto it though, wasn't he? Like,
Very
you're right,
quick.
5 years friendship, and he's like, okay. And by the way, I love that the editors got the receipts in there that Colleen started that chat. You know what I mean? Like, they actually put in the little thing that Colleen was the one who was happy to discuss, going, and the fact, but she flipped it on Nerys, man. Like, and Jay was very quick to go, okay, cool. Like, thank you for my let off. That I don't have to have the guilt to be associated with, that I can do this bloodletting guilt free. Like, that's what he just wanted, the permission slip from them. And as soon as they gave him any little skerrick, he was like, give it to me. Yes, bye, Nerys. Like he's been, like, I guess they have, that saying, Chris, like, you either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain.
Yeah.
Like, he has him and Olivia, I don't know which one's worse. The darling
definitely
rookie,
Olivia.
The darling rookie, or Jay's like slow turn into madness and like
I don't think anybody.
and
I think
emotion
people were
and crying.
I think people were 50-50 on Jay up until this point. I don't think I think there were people who liked Jay, like myself from Survivor coming over, and then there were people who were like, I don't really get the hype around him. And fair enough, he didn't really do much after beating CT in his first season. He hasn't
CT.
really.
He had the underdog thing. Like, he was the one that Bananas took Morgan, and then he was like, on the season where he kept getting picked on with Michele on Ride or Dies, and they were just thrown in. Like, I think he had that underdog thing going for him, and then immediately becomes the overdog and becomes the big bad guy. It's actually kind of fun to see, but the precipitous fall from grace for both of them is pretty remarkable. Jay's thing though is like, so with Nerys, is so whiplashy. It's like, you're not doing anything, happy to turn on her, saying all this stuff, and then like get really, really emotional and guilty, and then immediately turn back again and go, nah, I'm not picking you, Nerys. Like, it's just so like one way or the other, and it feels really like, you mentioned last week that it felt very emotionally manipulative. Like, you wonder if that's a red flag of other things. And and it does feel like I see it with my kids, like children-like behavior of emotional outbursts in one way or the other, and quick turns, 180. Like, there's no levels up, there's no graduation. It's just straight from here to there. I'm crying, now I'm happy, now I'm crying again. And it just seems like really emotionally unstable.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Jay, like Danica says here, I think Jay's reputation with the fans and the players is toast. He's very two-faced after this season and his confessionals. Does he not realize that everyone sees his what he says? And so weird, because again, there's some people he doesn't mind playing that very aggressive, I say aggressive, not physically aggressive, verbally aggressive sort of gameplay that he has towards some players in the game. And then he was kind of like a puppy dog when talking to Berna and Colleen and Emmanuel to a certain degree in this game, where he was almost like scared for his life. You could see the fear in him. Like he didn't have that same energy when he was communicating with them about
Numbers are
him being
gone. His
picked.
people are gone. He's by
His
himself
people are
now.
gone. So you can see that change. You can see that change in him. He's a little bit scared. And I think this move is a move that he's making out of being scared in the game, but he's needing to cover it up by hearing what Colleen has to say, what Burner has to say about Nerys never having his back in the game. But Nerys, I feel for her, man. She's just getting betrayed by everybody in the game right now. And Olivia trying to be the white knight coming in from the side to also protect Nerys in this moment, saying, you've been friends for so long. How can you be doing this? Olivia working very hard to try and mend fences at this point and saying, like, I can't believe Jay's doing it, when she literally just did the same thing to Nerys in the previous, deliberation that they had. Like, it's so rich coming from Olivia. I'm like, Olivia, I haven't forgotten yet. I'm still on to you. You're going to have to do more than just defend Nerys for one round in a game to be able to make up for it.
What's crazy about it, I said last week, and I don't necessarily take it back because we couldn't have known the future, but I said I don't necessarily think what Olivia did was like horrible for her own game. There's a potential upside of moving up the pecking order, solidifying the alliance even more, jumping Mariah and Burner, etc. But the way it turned out with Michele going this week, therefore she's got no protection and she's straight back. Like, it was only a 1 week reprieve, which I said would not be the thing. If she could get a couple of weeks out of it, then maybe it was good. One of the biggest what if sliding doors moments was that Olivia pick. Now that we see that we're already at the finals, 3 more purges, see what happened, and we're at the final. It could, if she had saved Nerys, Horacio, Kylan, and then got through to this week, they all of a sudden have the numbers. If Jay, Corey, Emmanuel, whoever of that combo went home last week, completely different landscape. I said she made the right move because it potentially saved her for a couple more games, not knowing that there was basically one more round where the consequences wouldn't have come back to her if she turned on him. It could have been so different. Like, knowing now what happened, it's the biggest what if moment that would have changed it, like, completely.
Yeah. And that is the difference between being a champion and not coming out of this game being a champion at the end sometimes, is these small margins. King Cooper is saying, whose betrayal is worse, Sarah to Bananas on Exodus 2 or Jay to Nerys on this season? And then also says, kind of want to see Nerys steal the money from Jay now. I think, King Cooper, where we're going to go. Like, Bananas is always going to have the worst betrayal because of the money.
No, he said Sarah to Bananas.
Sarah to Bananas. Exodus 2.
Not on Rivals. Right. Yeah.
Right.
So which caused Bananas to say, well, you did it to me, so I could do it, so I could steal the money.
True.
That was his excuse.
I remember now. That's why they were rivals. That's why they came back as rivals. Yes.
Yeah. So she voted him out. She got him voted out, and he took that personally.
Were Sarah, like, I don't know the backstory on how good of a friends they were outside of the game. Were they like tight for years outside of the game?
I don't remember to what extent. I just know that was the in-show storyline anyway. So
for me, if you're 5 years real friends outside of the game, that has to be worse. Unless
before
Sarah
the show and everything,
Bananas comes across as someone who does become friends with a lot of people outside of the game. So it could have been that they had that relationship outside of the game as well. Lena says, if casting brings back his allies, I think Jay has a chance to get far in future seasons. Look at the Vacation Alliance. And I think that's a good take. Like, there are still people who will ride with Jay, because for the majority of people, like, let's play Jay's game for a little moment here, because we don't want to be seen as biased in one direction, because we love Nerys and we'll always be like Team Nerys on this podcast. But from Jay's perspective, she kind of moved in a different direction to him. He's a bit entitled to think that everybody needs to move in the same direction that he's going to move in. Not even Michele. Michele called him out on that as well, saying, hey, I can't always move your way. I also need to have some people. So he's a little bit, I don't like the fact that he feels like everybody has to do what he wants to do in the game, right? Mm-hmm. But there were a couple of times in the game that he couldn't rely on Nerys for a vote. And the people that he did end up saving in the game, those are the people that have been sticking true to his plans. They have been doing what he's been wanting to do in the game. Exactly what he wanted.
Yep.
So you can kind of understand his argument where he's like, now I have to put someone else in danger that has rided with me this whole game. You haven't been doing that in this game. So I can see kind of why there is a point to Jay's game, and then if some of these people that he's now stayed loyal to come back, they'll have his back in the game. So he could still be building for future seasons if Emmanuel, Berna, Colleen comes back. But I don't know if those three are necessarily to come back in the future.
that's the problem. If you're looking at the landscape and going, am I setting myself? I don't think he's doing that kind of calculation, setting up for future seasons. Because if you did, you're looking at this cast going, am I going to attach myself for future seasons to a Burner and Colleen and Corey?
Or
Or
Kylan, Horacio, and Nerys.
exactly. Yeah. Right. Like they don't think that way in the moment while filming. The edit comes out, they see how it plays out, they go, holy shit, like look what Nerys, Horacio, and Kylan look like now. Maybe I can be attached to them as the villain that goes along with it, the foil, the opposition. But yeah, I don't. You can't say that he's thinking I've got a future with with this cast. Like maybe with Michele, and maybe Asaf is his best mate regardless. But I don't think he's got long for the show as well. So who knows?
Yeah. Dabu calling out Jay, saying after losing on 38, Jay talked smack to Bananas and Jordan that if he got to a final, he wins easy. Put up or shut up, sir. So we'll have to see
Jordan
if Jay
and
has followed the
Bananas.
season. Two of the best.
Yeah.
Easy win.
In the finals.
Agree. TJ was even saying, Jay, you didn't say Nerys when TJ called you out, and you messed up. So yeah, so even in this deliberation, again, I don't know. I love this energy from TJ at the point where they have to choose. And what is that he was saying? But he was like, again, he was just having a go at Jay for being indecisive and not making the decision, and then talking about Nerys not having his back. What was his words again? Do you remember? But he was kind of he's called Jay out twice now. Like I feel like with Jay, he's making his dislike of Jay's game known.
I like that TJ's getting a little bit more.
It's getting sassy
with his feelings. Yeah, like he even said to Burner in the first pick, I think he said something like, just remember, if you pick someone, you're saying you think you can beat them in the finals. Like if you want to save them, he's basically saying by leaving people at the bottom, you're telling them that you're good. And like he's throwing a cat in the pigeon of their little alliance. Like, who do you really want to run a finals against? Knowing that it's next. Like, it's pretty interesting that his praise for Nerys and Horacio and Colin is unabashed. There's no hiding it. He's just straight out there on Front Street with all his feelings this season.
Yes, everybody, if you're on the live, we've got 41 of you here at the moment. Please consider liking, please. That does help with the YouTube algorithm. Please, that would be much appreciated. And subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet to the channel. Yeah, love that from TJ. Love the fact that he did that. Also, TJ acting confused, asking Nerys, hey, what's happened here? I thought you guys were tied. And Nerys being like, well, I guess, TJ, loyalty and integrity does not mean a lot to him in the game. And she's just like, she's just calling a spade while all of this is happening and taking place. Yeah, so overall, very, very interesting with the selection turning out the way that it does. Jay is convinced not to save Nerys in the game. And the way that it goes is that Burner saves Corey saves Colleen then saves Emmanuel saves Jay, and Jay saves Mariah. And somehow Mariah, like, even though her head's not fully been in the game, like her head's more been around how can she cozy up to James and keep him in the game for a long time, she's doing a lot right. She's still getting this loyalty from this cast where no one has ever put her in danger. And out of those people that are safe there, I think only Colleen has been in the sand, right? Corey has been in the sand as well.
Yes.
Corey and Colleen, yeah. But there's a lot of people there. Bernard's never touched the sand. Emmanuel's never touched the sand. And Jay's never touched the sand this season. Mariah's never touched the sand this season. Which, does that scream that they're playing a good game at this point, not going into the eliminations?
You know what? Unfortunately, it really does. Like, people have been so down. Like, I was thinking about this, looking at the final 7 and going, ugh, like, I hate this final 7 except for Nerys. And then I went and looked at it and go, oh, the reason why I hate it so much is because my team lost. Like, they won. They are all there. Jay maybe isn't as big of a winner as he could have been. No Michele, no Asaf. Like, none of he's lost Nerys. So he's kind of floating by himself. But as far as Corey, Burner, Colleen, Emmanuel, the European nobodies that didn't have anyone at the start of this game, holy crap. Like, they're all in the finals. They have played a very good game. However you look at it, boring, bad for TV. Colleen's not great at blah, blah, blah. Burner's a mess. Emmanuel's a nothing. They are in the finals. Like, you can't argue with that. You know what I mean? Like, whatever it is, it worked for them to this point. and they have, looking at the final lineup as well, it's open. Like they have the best chance of any, like if Horacio, Kylan, Ed, Zaza, Ravyn. Unfortunately, it's not the best finals, but for these people, they've set themselves up in the best possible way they could have had. You know what I mean? Maybe if it wasn't Nerys and put a Michele in there or something, you know what I mean? But this is a very good setup for any of these people to win now.
Yeah. We've got Chris kind of disagreeing with you. It doesn't mean that they're playing a good game. It means that there were 10 elims when outsider came in to verse contestants.
Yeah, but 5 of them came back.
Yeah.
Including Michele. Well, yeah, well, she's not there now. Actually, none of them have come back. The ones in the finals have not won it. None of the people in the finals beat a champion. So that's a flaw in it, but it's not their fault. They played the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. You can't don't hate the player, hate the format of the game at the end of the day when it comes to it. And yeah, for me, listen, I love seeing people go into the sand, fight their way out, like Nerys is now doing. She's the underdog. She's getting into all of these eliminations and she's having to prove herself in the sand. Those are the kind of people you want to get behind. You don't always want to be shouting for the power structure within the house, but you do have to give respect for the way that they have had control of this game. Like they've had an iron grip on it for a long time.
There's always different approaches to a game, right? And some people like certain ones over others, and we prefer seeing a game like Nerys now, but it doesn't mean the game that the others have played is not a game that is incredibly effective. Like when you're playing video games and stuff like that, like my wife at the moment is obsessed with this game called Baldur's Gate, so I have to sit there and listen to like
I've played Baldur's Gate.
A paladin versus a salt warrior versus a healer versus a mage, and they all bring different things, different approaches. One is more boring than the other, but still very effective.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're playing a game here which we don't necessarily like, but you have to sit back and respect that they're there and they played it that way to get there, and it was effective. And they, you know, what can you say to that?
Yeah. You're back, I think. You just cut out for a second, but I totally agree with you. There's different ways of playing it, and Emmanuel's way is very effective. Like maybe if he wins this season, people will start modeling their game after Emmanuel's superior gameplay this season, doing absolutely nothing, being furniture. It's worked really well for other players who shall not be named on this podcast. They've come back season after season with the furniture strategy. So maybe that is something that some people will implement more in the future. Let's see what people are saying here in the live. Joanne says, I like that TJ called them out. He never does that. When he does, you know you effed up. Totally agree, Joanne. They had some same publicist manager. Who was this? Like I saw
Olivia and Horacio.
Horacio. Okay. I was surprised that he said he was sure he'd see James and Olivia back. Olivia, I get. James, I don't get. Yeah, James didn't do anything for me at the moment, to be honest. To say definitely that James should be coming back. James has over 1 million followers. Also, I want James and the Banana Stroma. Yeah, I can see that. That's probably a storyline they're willing to sort of explore. Then the finals due to a purge. Schoolyard picks not a good game, but they are there, so I guess they are champs. Well,
Schoolyard picks is social. Schoolyard picks is social, right? That's part of politics and strategy.
Yep, 100%. Daniel says they should have had the skull twist this season. I mean, to be a champ, you have to beat a champ. Yeah, they just didn't have enough champs to come back this season. That's the problem. They would have run out of champs. That's the old problem with doing season 40 with an all-champ season. I don't know if they've got enough champs who's willing to come back and play the game again and who aren't necessarily banned from returning to play the game again. Dabu saying, can't criticize the vacay alliance and applaud Jay's alliance. Yeah, listen, all I'm saying is it's effective. I'm not saying that I enjoy it. Like, I don't enjoy seeing an alliance dominate the whole time. And again, you can't blame the vacay alliance. You can't blame the J alliance for doing it. You've got to blame production for not figuring out ways to split them up. Like Survivor's done that, and I don't always like it, but Survivor's done that by doing tribe swaps or by doing, crazy twists in the game to consistently bring a randomness into the game where it's very hard for players to game the system and actually play strategically with alliances in the game. So I think they try to do it with the skull twist. The skull twist was kind of brought in so that people had to turn on each other, or at least had to go in and sort of earn their stripes. I'm not necessarily a fan of the skull twist myself. Like I feel like
that got broken as well.
Yeah, there was no consequences. It's like, yeah, I'll
Yeah,
just wait until the end, get my skull in the end, and go in. There was no, you 6 players never got skulls. You're now out of the game. Let's play with the
yeah.
people who. So there was no
There
consequence
was
to them
plenty
not
of
going.
skulls to give out. If you
Yeah,
wanted a skull, there was opportunity.
the strategy was just wait until the last week and then get your skull at the end when you
Yeah.
need to be in there, and stay on TV as long as you can so you can collect that, a paycheck, because I'm sure they get paid more the longer they're on the season.
Hmm.
Brian says Corey went from the target from everyone, including in his team, to someone never really being on the radar. Say what you want about him, but that usually doesn't happen. Yeah, he's done well. He's done well to stay in the game.
Yeah.
Dolores says, Kahuna, you don't have to sit there and watch it. You're sitting there because you want to support your wife, right?
Yeah. With her purple trans dragonborn mage or whatever it is.
Willie says KZ as furniture needs to stop being called back. Yeah, you know what I was referring to when I said furniture. Darren says, I was just saying, makes more sense why Olivia wasn't so sure about him. Everybody was saying she should know he has her back because he was there, right, her ride or die, but they really never were. Yeah, so it was like two people put together as ride or dies who kind of have the
Yes.
same manager, but they're not that tight. So
She said they did become very close friends during the show and after shooting, but they met through management specifically to get set up for Ride or Dies.
puts things into perspective slightly on Olivia, right? It does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Darren says there will never be an All Champs flagship show. We can only hope for All Star Champs. Yep. If there was no Bananas versus Jay drama over Morgan, no chance there is James drama. I just don't think that James or Bananas will give it air. I just don't think they'll give it air. Like they're just going to be like, hey, I don't know if Bananas maybe did care a little bit, but I don't think he didn't even want people to say that he was casted
show.
for the season and then
Yeah.
left. Like he didn't want this to be a thing.
The other thing is as well, like, as much as we go, oh, drama, 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 like, Bananas is like a 41-year-old man, and I think James is like 38 or something. Like, these are two grown adults. It's not like, two young dudes fighting. Like,
23-year-olds.
yeah, like, he's probably like, well, that was thing, but I'll move on. Like, I don't think they want to get into the drama. I wouldn't. Yeah, they're tired. They're old men. They got other stuff to worry about.
Now let's talk about someone who's not old. Nerys, only 28 years old, coming into this elimination. She has to take out both Olivia and James. She has the upper hand in knowing kind of what to expect going into this. She ends up beating both of them on the puzzles, once again proving that she really does have the full package. She's good at doing the obstacles herself. She's got the heart. She doesn't quit. And ultimately that sliding puzzle was the equalizer that a lot of them struggled with. And she figured that out very quickly, moved on, did the whole thing where they had to like replicate the sequence of buttons and things that they had to do. And then the last one was an ice bucket challenge. Like, listen, if you want to torture someone, that's full on. Like you can see. And this is where she showed her heart, because she was freezing in there and had to get the order right of what people were eliminated. And she ended up clutching it out, really showing us that she does deserve to run a final. What did you think of this showing and this elimination as a whole?
The fact that it was so dominant is really impressive. Like she even said it herself, like it wasn't even close. Like James and Olivia didn't even really touch her. I think, you know what I found fascinating when I looked at it last week, the reason why she won was the tanagram puzzle. And this week was really James and Olivia couldn't get past the slide puzzle. And I was like, maybe like if you've ever done an IQ test and that sort of thing, there's like different types of intelligence. Like I think
100%.
when I did one years ago, I was a verbal linguist or something. And some people like spatial awareness, and some people
I'm like visual and pattern recognition is like my things. Like
I think that's what Nerys, to see the tanagram puzzle and the slide puzzle, maybe she's wired to see that the pattern recognition, like really interesting spatial awareness of those things. And because that was the game changer for her. Like she wasn't dominating, jumping over the physical, like the blocks. By the way, I wish they would change that. I love that they changed the puzzles and the stations.
I don't mind it. I don't mind that they've got it in there. No, I don't mind it, because the thing is the challenge is balanced enough by bringing in puzzles. Like, so there's different parts of the challenge that you're going to dominate at. So if you're James or you're a guy, you're very physical, you can get through those first couple really quickly. but then you still need to have the brains to do well in the puzzle, which it's kind of like saying, I wish they made the puzzles easier. No,
No.
like
I wish
different.
they were still there, but just change it
Yeah.
up. It's 1 week. Like,
Okay, yeah. From a viewer's perspective.
yeah, they changed the puzzles. They come up
Yeah.
with new puzzles, right? So come up with new jump over things, like just a different obstacle that you climb over and go down and blah blah blah.
Yeah, yeah. So she actually helped Nelson beat his long run of not winning
That's
dailies
right.
last season with
Yeah.
puzzle. Dolores said it helped that she had been there twice before, once before
Once before.
this one. Yeah, but again, yes. So she kind of had an idea of what she was getting herself into running out there, and beating like Kylan and Horacio, who is like two of the best competitors this season,
Mhm.
would have given her so much confidence. Now beating again James and Olivia would have continued to build on that confidence for
I
her
mean,
heading into a
beating
final.
Olivia especially because remember, I don't know if you know, but Berna was saying that Olivia is the only person that could take out Horacio and
Yeah,
Kylan. So
yeah,
to beat
yeah.
Horacio, Kylan, and then beat Olivia, who would have taken them
Don't
out as
forget,
well.
don't forget, Olivia was carrying Horacio on her back last season to the final. If it wasn't for Olivia, Horacio would never have been in a final
It's
last
true.
season. So,
Yep.
yeah, like, I mean, now she's not only beaten the person that everybody thought was the true power behind that ride or die due, she's actually beaten the real person who was dragging Horacio's ass to the final, So it's undisputed now.
Yep.
Undisputed. I loved how she was at the end, is like, I'm that bitch. Like, I am that bitch. I'm the one that's taking people out. I'm the one that is, in my power right now. And she feels great about this going back home. And this is where
Badass.
Emmanuel took really big offense to her and the way that she came back into the house and saying we wanted to take you out. We didn't really try that hard. If we tried hard, you'd be gone, Nerys. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, such a
Yeah.
nothing comment from
She's
him
gone
there.
in twice now. How is that not
Yeah.
trying to take her out? Like, what do you
Yeah.
mean? Unless he
Yeah.
went in there himself in order to do it. Well, I didn't try to do it, so therefore, like,
Yeah. Yeah. Dolores, I do like salty Chris. Yeah, I can be salty or spicy every now and again. It's just some of the comments that were made. The gaslighting this season was hilarious. But it was kind of funny getting to the end of this episode. I was like, okay, cool, the episode's done. I did watch the extended version so I could see what people were saying afterwards. But then we have this random party scene that just starts at the end of it. I'm like, what's going on here? Why do we have a party scene at the end of the episode? This seems different. And then obviously TJ walking in, we know it's probably going to be the final next. This is probably going to be, but what I wish they would do in these cases, be like, you have to go and run the final in the clothes that you came to this party with. You should always be, like, make it that next level.
Stay ready.
Stay ready.
Especially when they have the ABC party, the anything but clothes party.
Kind of like Kylan when he got thrown into elimination
That's
and
true.
he had his like gear underneath. He's like, I'm always ready. They should
You
be
know what I
wearing
heard
that
from
gear underneath.
Kylan in one of his exit interviews? I don't know if it was with Drew or one of the other ones I saw, but he said that they knew that that was probably going to happen. Olivia was not going to save them, and they all asked for their uniforms, including Nerys, but production didn't wash it in time that they could pull off the. So only Kylan had it, unfortunately, which they all knew they were going to all like wear the uniform straight away.
Lovable Nikki would like for them to have less clothing on at the parties, not more. Don't go in with the the challenge gear. I know that Kahuna would agree. I'm sure Kahuna, that scene between Mariah and Jay in the opening part of the episode where he came in to celebrate with her would have been very pleasing on the eye for you.
Right. That's why I said if they had to run the finals in some of the party gear they wear, I'd be okay with that too. Although I think Mariah makes her athletic wear even shorter than some of the party wear. I don't know how that's possible. Apparently Under Armour makes like a specific cut or she does something very specific, but she's wearing the same clothes as everyone else, but just a lot less of it.
It's the nude party for her every single day in the challenge, basically. Doug was saying, I hope it's one episode final. I kind of do as well. I don't know. How do you feel about this? Do we know how many episodes are going to be in this final? Is it 2 episodes? Is it 1 episode? I believe, Kuna, you looked at the TV guide for it not that long ago because we were trying to plan out how we're going to be doing the upcoming season of Survivor with the challenge content and how do we fit everything into our schedules. And I know Kahuna had a look at it, so he'll know how many episodes are left. Lovable Nikki is saying 2, definitely 2.
Yeah,
So yeah, people are saying 2 episodes. Okay, well, hopefully it's a fun one. Who do you have winning going into the final now that we know who's in the final?
It's such a weak final, eh? Like, I feel like Nerys is the only woman that has a chance here.
Yeah, it's the only one I'm willing to back. I'm not putting
Yeah.
my name. I'm not putting my name now behind anybody but Nerys going into this final. That's who I want to win this season. That is who I want to be the new champion, and represent this new era of the challenge.
Yeah, I mean, she has to. If they don't capitalize on what she's done and what they've been able to craft out of this season, Nerys is
Yeah.
absolute gold right now. It's like,
Do you reckon
need
they
to be
should?
able to build on the momentum.
Do you reckon they should manipulate the final a little bit for Nerys and get her to win it? Like,
I
maybe
wonder No, they shouldn't.
this is the
But I wonder
opportunity,
if
right?
maybe she could even be better served potentially not winning. Like,
Really?
well, it would make a wrap up of this arc, this storyline amazing. Like to see what she's come through to
So
win it.
close, but yet so
Kind of like
far.
Chris Underwood, like how he actually did win after going through all that in USA 2 and it wrapped it up. But what Nerys could do if she comes like a second or she performs well but gets pipped at the end by a man or whatever in the like she would have won if it was a women's championship. I don't know, like there's the potential that she could be everyone loves her. She didn't win. Now we want to see her come back and finally win after having like an amazing season, Like it could provide momentum for future seasons as opposed to wrapping it up with a nice little bow now and finishing off the storyline. She could have it ongoing by not winning.
See what you did there, Dolores. You know what you did. You know what you did, Dolores. We saw that. Nah, listen, I think that Jay or Manuel probably has a chance as well to win this. Like, I mean, listen, this is Jay's moment. If Jay doesn't win this season, I don't know. It's gonna be tough in the future. And then
I'm just worried about the stupid mum confessionals, man. Why are they there?
Yeah.
Why are they there? I don't care about Emmanuel's mum.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to be here for it. We're going to be back next week to talk about the first episode of the final then. And very interested to see how this season is going to play out. I do agree with some of the comments saying that if Nerys doesn't win this season, it's going to be a disappointing outcome to the season. This season has had its moments, though. It has had its moments where it's provided some entertainment, but I'm not overly sad to get towards the end of this. I know that very soon we're finally going to get All Stars 4 dropping, which is exciting. We're both looking forward to talking about that season. And
gonna be good.
Have they started doing any filming for season 40? Is that in the pipe? Because I feel like by this time we normally have 1 or 2 in the pipe.
No, I believe it's March they're flying out, is what I've heard. I don't know 100%, but
it's close enough.
Bananas was saying something last week. Bananas had CT on his podcast. That's a fun listen, by the way. These two blokes that have known each other for 20 years, just sharing crazy memories that you don't.
By the way, I love how sour Bananas is on Dan for traders. Like he's such a bad loser, and I'm here for it.
But seeing these two guys just catch up and talk crap about all the stuff they used to get up to, all the stuff we don't see on screen, the rules that they had to put in place because of these guys is a really interesting listen. But yeah, why did I say that? Why was I bringing it up?
I think it was talking about the next season.
Oh, sorry. And Bananas sort of dropped a comment and they both kind of laughed like, haha, yeah, we're both going to be busy in March. Like,
oh, right.
Yeah. So I was like, everyone was like, oh, okay. So, and they kind of went wink, wink, you know why kind of thing.
Yeah, so King Cooper saying they have some names confirmed. I know too if you want to hear them. Another great show. Thanks, Darren. Appreciate you being here with us in the live tonight. A lot of fun with everybody here taking part as well. Lena saying, let's pray for Ayana. I heard about her cancer diagnosis. That's not good. Thoughts and prayers go out to Ayana. Hopefully she makes a speedy recovery and is something that she can recover from, like hopefully it's not the severe, like all cancer is severe, but not the severe type you can't come back from. So what we'll definitely do is at some point we'll have a look at what the cast looks like. I'll always look at what the cast looks like at the day when they fly out, and then I just go dark because I know that the challenge is the worst show for spoiling things. I don't want to know how it's going to turn out, so I'll be off the socials, which I have been this whole season in any case, and I'll be making sure that I have my blinkers on as soon as they go out, because I'm just hoping that season 40 is going to be a good theme. It's going to be a good season that we can get behind. And then we've got the Challenge All-Stars to enjoy before that season drops moving forward. But Lena saying, Wes said he was asked to join Traders 3, but he cannot make it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, season 3 has been confirmed for Traitors as well, and one of my favorite reality TV stars, probably my favorite, to be honest. He is the favorite Survivor player of mine of all time, and the best, the GOAT of Survivor. Tony Vlachos has come out of social media retirement and has said, back in 2024, out of retirement. So I feel like that's very timely with Traitors 3 being reconfirmed and people getting calls. And I actually said I said on the Traitors podcast, and I know we're a little bit off track here for people who don't care about the Traitors, but what a way to tell people I'm ready to pregame. I'm back out of retirement.
Starting my social media again.
Yeah, I wonder why Tony is suddenly back on social media. Let's do a little bit of, a pre-gaming.
So with Wes, who from the challenge, because I know Tori apparently was upset that she didn't get a call, or she said, I want to be on the show, and she didn't. They got CT and Bananas and Trishelle. Who makes a good traitor from the challenge world? Besides, Wes would have been awesome.
Devin,
yeah, Devin actually. Devin be great.
Devin would be fun. Get Devin.
Michele,
both Devins. Boy Devin and girl Devin, but I think boy Devin would be fun.
Yeah. Actually, it would be fun.
Yeah, there's this bunch of people you can bring up from the challenge. Like, all of them are big personalities. Look at how well Trishelle's doing this season. Nobody expected Trishelle to be dominating, but we don't want to be, well, not dominating, but doing really well in the game, having good reads. Sarah Rice. We've got Tina. Yeah, there's so many people they could.
I like that we've got another option. You know how it was always
Veronica.
The questions are always, which challenges would you want to see on Survivor, right? And it never really went that way. We see Survivors on Challenge. We don't see challenges on other shows. So the fact that the Traitors is an option, and we go, oh, maybe we can have people from the challenge, branching out, is kind of a cool thing.
I'm glad to know that Wes's business is doing so well he can't take 10 days off to go film this thing, right? Because it's only like a 10-day, 12-day filming for Traitors, right? That's good. Anyways, that is it here for this week, everybody. Thank you so much for being in the live. Consider subscribing to the channel, hitting the like, putting the notification bell on if you are new to us. And we will be back next week to break down all of the action for the finale. Before that, you should see some content dropping for Traitors, the next episode, which I haven't watched yet, so I'll have to get onto that very soon. And also Australian Survivor Week 3 should be episodes 7, 8, and 9 that we'll be talking about next week. But for now, have a great weekend, everybody, and we will be talking to you guys next week. Bye.